I actually want to start by asking you a question. If I had told you at the start of this series, which of the following two statements would you have found harder to believe? Giannis is going to get 50 points in a finals game, or Giannis is going to go 17 of 19 shooting free throws?
Uh, well, so that's funny. I would definitely go with the free throws, of course. That is because of the fact that he, he was injured, right, coming into the finals. So we didn't even know if he could play. And of course, he came out and was just out of this world superhuman for all six of those games. Um, but you saw that the Phoenix did have some weak front court players and just not the same amount of shot size. And if you're throwing Ayton at Giannis constantly, he's going to get worn down when he's playing 40 plus minutes a night trying to defend Giannis. It's just that's what ended up happening in this series. Giannis just never stops, it seems like. And Ayton just, he did a good job up until a certain point, but then he ran out of gas. And so the free throw thing, of course, is much more surprising to me. When Giannis was first entering the league, he actually was a decent free throw shooter. And I think that's partially because of just the fluidity of his size at that point. And then he grew 3 inches. He put on a ton of muscle, a ton of size. And I think that actually made it more difficult for him to
Of
shoot.
course.
Like, of course, like you see the Shaq, you see the Dwight Howard, those guys with extremely large hands usually have difficulty shooting free throws. But he was able to turn back the clock. And it really shows the mentality that he has is that even he can have this entire thing that people constantly berate him for, tease him. He's getting roasted by the media, and then he'll come out and he'll say, "No, I'm tonight. My team needs this. I'm going to drop 17 of 19 from the free throw line." I was really, really impressed with him, and that definitely was a surprise. But at the same time, if you followed this guy his whole career, like it's just another thing for him that he's able to climb an extra piece of that mountain and establish himself as a guy who comes through.
It has one of those legendary qualities to it and adds so much to the performance. I mean, how often do you see a player kind of single handedly win a game with the most verbally constantly criticized part of their game, their supposed weakness? Like, I can't really think of any parallels to that ever. And I know you said 50 points is more surprising, but I mean, he was so gassed getting as many points as he did in the paint, defending as such. It's too exhausting for him. There's no chance he's ever getting 25 field goals in the paint while playing defense that hard. So it was a trick question, actually. The two are inseparable. And he could have shot 9 of 17. That would have been a pretty familiar stat line for his free throws numbers. And that would have been a loss for the Milwaukee Bucks. So I don't think it's hyperbole at all to say his free throw shooting won them the game. And I mean, he did so many amazing things. I don't want to just focus on the free throws too much, but the fact that offensively, statistically, you can literally say he won the game with the weakest part of his game is so amazing. But what else do you think there is? I mean, the defense for sure. 5 blocks.
Yeah. And all of them like 100% effort. He had that one in the late in the game where he just missed the block on Devin Booker, and he had one that was a goaltend.
Yeah.
So, but everything was max effort, like spectacular blocks from him, and he gave it everything he had. It was truly, truly special, and a little bit of everything where he had to carry his team for stretches of that game. Through 7.5 minutes, I believe, in the second quarter, Milwaukee had 4 points in the quarter. And there was a stretch where they went, I think the team was 1 of 15 on non-Giannis shots. And he just continually either found his way to the free throw line or was bullying his way in the paint. I think he only hit 1 3 in the game. It was, he knew what he had to do. He had some things figured out. This playoff run was really important for him. He's had his playoff scars, and now moments that tested him, he was able to figure it out and move on. And it's a great accomplishment for him. And at such a young age as well, to be able to do it, younger than a lot of the top greats getting their first title. Um, Yeah, we could go on and on about Giannis. He was awesome.
Yeah, we can move on now to the rest of the team. Just praise Giannis a little more. I think the key difference down the stretch, the last 10 minutes of that fourth quarter, is the Bucks' other four players actually, for the most part, did step up. Portis having big moments, mid-range floaters, Middleton getting it going offensively. More on that. Even Pat Connaughton had a huge play somewhere in there where he got an offensive rebound to keep the play alive for the Bucks, run the clock a little more, and I think they did get a bucket off that second chance point. Also, I think hit a nice three. Whereas the Suns went cold down the stretch. Johnson, Crowder, Payne, guys who had been pretty consistent for them this whole playoff runs, just were missing some fairly open shots, couldn't quite create their own offense. And I think last time for a bit, I'll return to Giannis, but that effort, that intensity that he brought, that determination to just drag his team with him, we have to label it an intangible that helped raise the level of the team.
Yeah, it was great. And he got guys who dug in there with him, especially defensively, right? Middleton, Holiday, nothing really that spectacular on the offensive side in this game. But one team that this Bucks team brought through the entire playoffs was defensive consistency. And that carried them through a lot of those stretches. And that is a true mark of a champion, is the defense will hang in there consistently when the offense decides to, when it struggles or when just shots aren't falling. And that was something that they did really well. And on the other side for Phoenix,
if I'm a Suns fan, I'm pretty optimistic. You just got beat by a legendary player this year.
yeah, and legendary is a great word, because with this title, Giannis becomes one of three players in NBA history to have won the MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year, and a Finals MVP. And he is the first player in NBA history to have those plus a Most Improved Player trophy. The collection is full, and he is on a trajectory now to end up as one of those top 20, top 15 players of all time, winning at a relatively young age, doing what he's been doing, already a two-time MVP, already a Defensive Player of the Year. The resume is already loaded, and he's not going anywhere. People still believe there's more that he can add to his game, right? The next step in his evolution is almost like that LeBron, where he can get the ball almost anywhere on the court and diagnose a defense and break it down at his pace. And we saw it in this very LeBronian. Whenever he decided to get to the basket, he was either scoring, drawing a foul, or finding an open shooter. And when he decides to do that, he's virtually unstoppable. Teams didn't wall up the same way. And if they were doing so, then Milwaukee was making the adjustments to get him a little bit more space, a little bit more runway, a little bit more, again, space to see how the defense is reacting, how people are moving on the offensive side. And just the more playoff reps he gets, the more he's going to ascend his level of basketball IQ and what's happening. Because again, he's done this now, but he started playing basketball at a much older age than a lot of the truly amazing legendary players of the game. So I still think there's room for him to grow, and he's going to be the guy now in this league for many, many years to come.